Welcome to Learner's Planet, children. This is the session about growing plants. In the previous session, we studied about growing plants from seeds and the process of dispersal in detail. And now this is session 2 about growing plants, in which you will learn about the growing plants from the other parts of the plant. As we discussed in previous session, that plants not only grow from seeds but also from the roots, stems and leaves. So children, in this session we will study about them in detail. Right children? And we will also study about the growing plants from spores. Alright children? So let's start with the first topic. Growing plants from roots, stems and leaves. Children, you might be knowing that these are the parts of the plant, and all the parts of the plants play an important role in one or the other thing, right? So all the parts of the plant are very important, and that is why we also concluded in the previous session that not only from the seeds but also from the other parts of the plant like roots, stem and leaves, plants can grow. Alright, so we can say that plants can grow not only from seeds but also with the help of their roots. Alright, as here you can see an example of a carrot. Carrot is such an example of a plant which do not grow from seed. Right? We discussed before just one example, that in the story of fairy tale, you must have heard the story of fairy tale, you all must have heard about it, that the person or some of the people used to throw seeds on the ground, right? The seeds of bean plant on the ground, and the bean plant used to grow into a giant bean stalk, right? But is it possible in the carrot? No, this is not possible in the carrot, right? Because this plant, which is carrot, do not grow from the seed, but it grows with the help of its roots, right? So all the plants do not grow from the seeds but also from the other parts of the plant, right? In the same way, all the plants do not grow from their roots also, they grow from the other parts of the plant, right? So here you can see that roots play a very important role. As we also studied that roots are very helpful to the plants because seedling or the baby plants absorbs water and nutrients from the soil with the help of roots. In the same way, roots are very helpful also for the germination of plants. Alright, for example carrot, right? So here you can see these are the roots, and you can also see this is the carrot. Carrot grows with the help of its root. How does it grow? Yes, a new plant can be grown from the top portion of a carrot, right? In this top portion you can see that there are roots. So because of this new plant, because of this only a new plant can grow, right? A top portion of the carrot possesses roots, and because of these roots, a new plant, that is a new carrot, can grow. In the same way, it also happens in other plants. So let's see the examples of some plants that grow with the help of their roots. Yes children, there are some other plants also which can grow with the help of their stems, right? For example, which is this plant? This is a plant which is able or capable to grow with the help of their stem. In the same way, there is third part of the plant, which is leaf, right? So plants can also grow with the help of their leaves. As you can see here, some of the pictures, right? So these plants can grow with the help of their leaves. You can see here, their leaves are here, right? So a new plant will grow with the help of these leaves. Alright children, so we can say that plants are able to grow with the help of other parts of the plants, that is stems, roots and leaves. So children, let's study about each of them in detail. So the first one is roots that can grow into new plants. Right? We discussed this example of carrot, that the top portion of the carrot possesses roots, and because of these roots only they are able to grow into a new plant, that is a new carrot. Right? In the same way, it also develops or it also takes place in other plants. For example, radish. Radish is also a plant that grows from the roots, right? So this is also such an example because of which all the roots which are present on the radish, right, they will grow into a new plant. So the portion of the roots behind or above the radish are present in it, right? And because of this they are able to grow into a new plant. Then turnip. You can see on the top portion of the turnip, as it is present in the carrot, in the same way it is also present in the radish, in the same way it is present in the turnip also, right? So what happens? This roots will develop or germinate into a new turnip plant, right? So turnip is also such an example which grows from the roots. Then beetroot is also a plant that grows from the roots, right? Children, you must have observed or you must have noticed that this is also a type of plant which we eat, right? Which we eat in our food. We eat it as salad, right? So this is also possessing roots, right? And because of these roots only, if we cut them or if they are scattered by themselves on the ground, then what will happen? They do not have seeds, right? So they will not scatter themselves, right? So if we cut this root and if we nutrients, then air, warmth from the sun and water, then it will grow into a new beetroot plant, right? So beetroot is also a plant that grows from its roots. Then Dahlia. Dahlia is also such type of plant which possesses roots. So Dahlia roots can be used to grow into new plants, right? So here you can see this is a beautiful Dahlia plant, right? So these also possess roots, and because of these roots only they are able to grow into new Dahlia plant. Alright children, so is it clear to you? Let's see some more examples. Sweet potato, right? Sweet potato is also usually referred to as yam in international countries, right? So sweet potato also possesses roots, right? And because of these roots which is present on the top portion of the sweet potato, they are able to grow or germinate into a new sweet potato plant. Then yam. Yam is also referred to as sweet potato, or we can say that sweet potato and yam can be used as a vegetable, as our food, right? But these possesses roots and they are able to germinate from their roots, right? So this is a picture of the cooked yam. We can eat this as a vegetable also. Then cassava. As you can see here, there are also some roots present in the cassava plant, right? So these roots are helpful to grow or germinate into a new cassava plant, right? So these are all the examples like carrot, turnip, radish, yam, sweet potato, dahlia and cassava. All of these plants possesses roots, and because of these roots only they are able to germinate into a new plant. Alright, so these are the plants that develop or grow from their roots. Alright children. So children, as we discussed that other parts of the plants also grow into new plants, right? Like stems and leaves. So now let's see the other part of the plant that can grow into new plant. So the second part of the plant that can grow into new plant is stem. Stems that can grow into new plants. They are, for example, a potato, right? Here you can see potato and you can see some tiny dots on them, right? So what is actually potato? Potato is also a kind of vegetable, right? And it possesses a bud. A bud is developing into a new plant, right? A bud has a capability of developing into new plant. But what is it actually? A bud is present. Where is it present? Yes, it is present on the surface of potato only. Potato is, that is why, a special kind of stem which grows under the ground, right? So that is why it is called as an underground stem. It has buds on the surface of it, right? And these buds are called eyes on its surface. And any piece of potato with an eye can grow into a new plant. Without this bud or without its eye, it cannot grow into a new plant. Alright children, so it is a special kind of stem which is also called as underground stem, which possesses buds or they are called eyes, and it is present on its surface, right? And any piece of potato with this eye or a bud can grow into a new plant, that is a new potato. So this is a very good example of the stem that can grow into a new plant. Alright, there are some other plants also that can grow from the stems. So let's see some other examples also. Onion. Onion is also a special kind of stem. It will grow the leaves if you plant one of them in the ground, right? So onion is also used in our food as vegetable, right? You can see the leaves, right? It is also a special kind of stem and it grows leaves if we plant one of them in the ground, right? So onion is also a type of plant that grows from the stems, right? So it possesses leaves but not the buds. Potato possesses buds or the eyes, but onion possesses leaves, right? But it is also a kind of the stem that can grow into a new onion plant. Alright children? So this is the difference between the onion and the potato, but they grow from the stems. Then hyacinth. So hyacinth is also such type of plant which has got a special kind of stem, alright, and it grows into a new plant because of this stem only, right? So hyacinth is a plant that is grown from the stem into a new hyacinth plant, right? Then tulip. Tulip is also a type of plant which possesses a special kind of stem, right? And because of this special kind of stem, they are able to grow into a new plant. Okay children, whenever you visit a garden, you will see a lots of orchids, right? So amongst them, tulips are also a kind of plants, or they are possessing beautiful flowers. So these beautiful flowers are actually tulips. The different colors of tulips are present in the garden. So they are also able to grow from these stems into the new tulip plant. Alright children. So children, there is also a mechanism of this stem that grows into a new plant, right? So let's see one example, right? Some plants can grow into a new plant with just a stem cutting of the mother plant, right? There are many such plants which grow with the help of their roots, right? And there are many such plants which grow with the help of their stems. But there are some plants that can grow into a new plant with the stem cutting, just a stem cutting of the mother plant. Okay, so let's see this example and how does this process takes place, right? So this is the process of stem cutting. We have taken an example of a rose plant, right? So this is a rose plant. We will take a rose plant, then the stem of this rose plant is cut. In the next step, what is being done? This is only a stem of this rose plant. Now in the next step what happens? Yes, the cut portion of the stem is then planted into the ground, right? It is planted into the ground. This is not present. The roses here are not present, only the stem is present. Okay, so the cut portion of only the stem is planted in the ground with the nutrients, then the atmospheric air, then sunlight and water, and all the required amount of water, air, sunlight and the space and even nutrients. After getting all such things, they are able to develop into new rose plants, right? So how is it? Yes, it is very interesting, right? So this is actually a stem cutting process, right? How does it take place? First we cut the stem of this plant, then the cut portion of this stem is planted in the ground, and then after some days or some time we see that they grow into new plants, right? So this is a new rose plant, and we can see many new rose plants if we plant many such stems of the mother plant, of the mother rose plant, right? So this way the stem cutting of some plants takes place, alright? So these are some of the plants which grow into a new plant with just a stem cutting of the mother plant. Alright, so is it clear to you, children? Okay, children. So let's see some other examples also which grow into a new plant with the stem cutting of the mother plant. Yes, for example, just we saw rose, then hibiscus. Hibiscus is also a type of plant which grows with just a stem cutting of the mother plant. We will cut the stem of this hibiscus plant and then we will plant this cut portion of the stem in the ground with providing the proper amount of air, water, sunlight and nutrients and even some space to grow, right? And after some time we can observe that many hibiscus plants are grown, right? Many new plants are grown. So these are possible with the help of the process called stem cutting. Third example is blackberry. Blackberry is also such an example which grows into a new plant with just a stem cutting of the mother plant. Then grapes, right? So these are all such examples that can grow into a new plant with the stem cutting of the mother plant. For examples, sugarcane. Yes, the sugarcane also possesses a special kind of stem through which we can grow it into a new plant, and this is also possible in stem cutting also. If we will cut the stem of this sugarcane plant and if we will plant this cut portion of the stem of the sugarcane in the ground with the required amount of the factors in the proper amount, then what will happen? They will grow beautifully into new sugarcane plants. Then in fig also it possesses a special kind of stem, that is the fig plant, right? So it will possess a special kind of stem, and this is also possible by growing with the process of stem cutting, right? So fig can also grow into a new plant with the help of the stem cutting process. Alright children, so I hope you are clear with this. We saw many examples of such plants which can grow into new plants from their stems and also by the process of stem cutting of their mother plants, right? We also discussed about the other part of the plant, that is roots and stems, and now we are going to discuss about one more important part of a plant which is also called the kitchen of plants, right, which prepares food for the plants, right? So let's study about that other part of a plant in detail. What is it? It is the leaves that can grow into new plants. So children, young plants arise along the edges of the bryophyllum leaves. You can see here, this is an example, this is a picture of the bryophyllum leaf, right? So we can see here some of the young plants have arisen along the edges of these leaves, right? So bryophyllum is such a plant on which the young plants arise along its edges, right? So how is it possible to grow it into a new plant? Children, what will be its mechanism? Let's see. Yes, the complete plants can be grown from these bryophyllum leaves if they are placed in the moist soil. So children, the young plants grow on the edge of the bryophyllum leaf, and from this edge, when they are cut down and when they are placed into the moist soil, or if we do not cut it down, they will themselves by nature will be detached from its mother plant, and they will grow into a new plant when they will be placed in the moist soil. So complete plants can be grown from the bryophyllum leaves if they are placed in the moist soil. As you can see here in this picture, a man is placing this bryophyllum leaf in the moist soil. But we can also place just one single young plant which is present along the edge of the leaf into the moist soil. And then we can see after some days it will grow into a complete bryophyllum plant, right? So this is also possible, right? So these are some of the example of these. This is one such example of the plant that can grow from the leaves, right children? So let's see more method by which we can also grow the plants, right? So we saw all the parts of the plant from which new plants can grow, that is roots, stems and leaves. Now there is one more method by which we can grow plants, and this method is termed as tissue culture, right? What is meant by tissue culture, children? Yes, plants can be grown even from a single cell using a technique called as tissue culture, right? So what is happening in this? Yes, you can see here, this is a flask, this is a glass flask, and what happens, some of the scientists or the researchers have came out with the conclusion that if we will just keep a single cell in this flask with providing all the required factors with the right proportion, then what will happen? After some days we can see that plants can grow, many plants can grow from a single cell, right? So this is called as tissue culture, right? Culture means providing all the nutrients, then the right amount of water, air and sunlight, right? So So the plant will get warmth from the sunlight, it will get air, it will get water and nutrients, right? And this much space to grow, right? And this is termed as culture. And tissue means we are just putting a single cell, and then after some time we can see that plants are grown, right? So plants can also be grown, a large number of plants can be grown even from a single cell using a technique called as tissue culture. But we have to make sure that they are being provided with all the factors which are being required for the germination of a plant from a seed into a new plant. Alright, so a single cell can grow into many plants by using this technique, and this technique is very important in this field of science. Alright children, so always remember this technique when we have to grow many plants. Okay children, so what happens actually? The cells are grown in a special substance that contains all the nutrients required for the plant growth. Like we just discussed that we can grow it in a flask, in the same way we can also grow these cells in another special substance, and this substance or this is known as Petri plate, right? So this is a picture of a Petri plate in which we have kept some leaves, right? Even we can also keep a single cell, right? So what happens actually? We can provide this single cell with all the vital nutrients, and then they will be grown into a plant, right? So the growth of the plant in this special substance also takes place even from a single cell when it gets all the vital nutrients and all other factors. Right children? So is it clear to you? So this is the method of or the technique called as tissue culture. So now we are going to study about the another method, that is, it is not a method but they are the plants which are grown from the spores. So let's study about them in detail. Growing plants from spores. Children, some plants do not have any seeds, right? So how they are able to grow into a new plant? Yes, they grow with the help of tiny structures called spores. As here you can see, it is labeled, these are the tiny structures and these are called spores. So children, these are some type of plant, there are some type of plants that do not possess any seeds, right? So how they are able to grow? They are able to grow with the help of these spores, right? So spores have also the capability to grow into a new plant, even if they do not possess any seed. So always remember that the plants that do not possess any seeds are also able to grow because they possess tiny structures called spores, right? Children, we will see some examples of such plants that are able to grow from spores. For example, mushroom. Mushroom is such an example which are able to grow from the spores because they do not contain or they do not possess any seeds. They possess only spores, right? And because of these spores only, they are able to grow into new mushroom plant, right? So they do not have any other part like leaf, stem or root. They possess only spores, and because of these spores only, they are able to grow into a new plant. Another example is fern. Fern is also, fern, you can see here, this is a picture of a fern. So fern is also a plant which is able to produce by spores, right? So how is it possible actually? These spores are dispersed by wind, right? As we studied about the dispersal process, the dispersal also takes place by the factor called wind, right? So dispersal by wind takes place in these plants, and these plants are able to grow into a new plant with the help of spores. Then fungi. As you can see the structure of the fungi, these round-like structure possesses tiny structures inside them, that is spores. And because of these spores, when they burst open, what happens? These fungi grow by forming spores, and these spores are, when burst open, they are dispersed by wind, and after that they scatter in all the directions, and because of this, what happens? Whenever they get nutrients, required nutrients from the soil, they will grow into a new fungi plant. So fungi, ferns, mushrooms are all such examples of such plants which are able to grow into a new plant with the help of spores. There is also one more example, that is horsetail. These also possesses spores because they do not have seeds. So some plants like horsetail also, they do not possess seeds, and they possess tiny structures like spores, and they reproduce with the help of spores. Alright, so their spores are also dispersed by wind, and then they are able to grow into a new plant when they get the right amount of nutrients and other factors. So we saw such examples of the plants that can grow from spores. For example, like mushroom, fungi, fern, and even horsetail. Alright children, so I hope that you enjoyed this session and learned about the importance of other parts of the plants that can grow into new plants. Alright children, so we will discuss more about the growing plants in the next session. Till then, keep learning, keep enjoying. Thank you children.